Hey everyone, welcome to this wonderful world of online learning. This video is to take us through the concept of demand as it relates to economics. So as we go through demand and supply, I'm going to be using the concept of hats quite a lot. So I'm going to say you have to put on your demand hat or you have to put on your supplier hat. And the reason I do that is we want to tackle these economic problems in relation to demand and supply separately. You're never going to be asked as to what is the effect or on demand and supply. It's always going to be one or the other. Okay, so for the first little bit, we're going to just do demand. So let's put our demand hats firmly on. And the beauty about demand is it is in relation to the behavior of consumers. So that's the great easy thing because you guys are consumers every day. So what makes sense to on the demand side of things should make sense to you. So decisions that relate to demand are the same decisions you make. And we're going to talk about this concept called the law of demand in a little bit. But before we get there, I just wanted to start with a little bit of a demonstration, if you like. So I've got my trusty whiteboard here, my $4 Kmart whiteboard, no expense spared. And over on this side, I'm just going to ask you some questions. So let's say you're buying something because demand is in relation to the behavior of consumers. So you're buying something, or something you guys buy a lot of. Let's say, I don't know, a pair of shoes. Okay. So as a pair of shoes, it's the most favorite pair of shoes in the whole wide world that you can have. And what would you say? And let's say we've got 11 in the class, but that's kind of hard to do. No, we'll do 11. That's fine. Out of 11 of you, um, and you can kind of answer this in your head yourself. Would you buy your favorite pair of shoes if they cost $20? And I would guess that everybody would probably buy those favorite pair of shoes for $20. And so if our price is 20, well, then our quantity that demands at that price is 11 people. Okay, see where I'm going here? All right. Um, is that back to front? Hopefully that's around the right way. You get the gist anyway. Okay. Um, so let's say then the price goes up to, I don't know, $50. Now for some of you that might be too much money and you can't afford that. And so 11 people don't demand at that price. Let's just say maybe 9 of you demand at that price. And we're going to keep going up. At $80 for that pair of shoes. For a lot of you, you're like, yep, that's still good value and I'm going to buy at that price. But those that bought at 50, there's some of them that are now out. They're not going to buy it at that higher price. And then up and up we go, $120. Only 2 of you are going to demand those shoes at that price. And then at $150, it's zero. Zero are going to demand at that price. Actually, this is a pretty cheap pair of shoes, but you kind of get the idea. All right, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to get you guys to draw axes like this, and we did a little bit of this at the end of last year. Um, draw an axis, an up and down axis, and a left and right axis. This is the Y, that's the X. Do a little arrow at the end, and who can remember what goes at the top? Write it on your chart. And then what goes here? Write it on your chart. So we've got price up here and quantity down here. So now what I want you guys to do is to plot the points of this data on your chart. Okay, so if you haven't done it already, go grab pause the video and go grab a piece of paper and for you to do this. If you want to go grab one of these too, Kmart's still open. So they're really, really cheap and they're really handy too for economics. I use it all the time. All right, so we're going to do a few of these together. So this is how you actually populate your axes here. So we've got a minimum price, sorry, of minimum price of 0, which is here, and a maximum price of 150. Now, your axes don't have to be perfect, but they've got to be close. Now, I can divide 150 really easily into 3 chunks. Yeah? So a third of that height is about here, and a third of that height is about here. Okay, so 150 divided by 3, 50, 100, and 150. And I've got pretty even gaps there. That 150 is a bit low, actually. So So see those gaps are about the same. That's important. And now we're going to do the same on the price axis. You'll see I'm taking the the quantity axis. I'm going to take the lowest quantity, which is 0, and I'm going to take the highest quantity, which is 11. That's a really nasty number to divide. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to halve that 11, which is going to be 5.5, which is a gross number. And I'm just going to go up a bit and say that's 6. Yeah, half of 6 is 3. 6 plus 3 is 9, so that's about there. All right, and that gives me a lot of my data points. All right, now we're in a position now where we can start plotting our charts. So at $20, so here I've got 0, this is my price axis. I'm going to start at 0 and I'm going to go up to about 20. Well, half of 50 is 25, so it's a bit below that. I haven't put pen onto the whiteboard yet. I'm just kind of hovering it above, as you can see there, like that. So it's half back a bit. And what quantity does 20 relate to? What quantity is next to that? Well, 11 is. So I'm going to go all the way along here to 11, 20, cross to 11, and do a cross. Do that on yours as well. And then I'm going to do the next one, this second data point here. So what price have I got? 50. So hovering my pen above it, I'm going to go up to 50. Still hovering it above, yeah, hovering it above. And then what quantity am I going across to? That's right, I'm going across to 9. So all the way across to 9, and I'm going to do an X. So I want you guys to pause the video now and complete populating all of these crosses, and then draw a line of best fit. Oops, sorry, let's go that way. Line of best fit through those X's. Pause the video now and complete your charts. All right, so this is what the rest of these look like. So you go up to 80 and across to 6. Bang, up to 120, across to 2, bang, 150, 0, bang. And so you should have a relatively straight line here, and then you just draw a line that kind of goes through most of them. That, my friends, is a demand line. And you're going to put a little D next to it, not with a tail that big. You're going to put a D next to it to signify that is the demand line. And this is where I want to introduce you guys to the law of demand. All right, so what is the law of the demand? Well, the law of demand states that as the price rises, quantity demand falls. So let's see if this makes sense. Let's say we go from a point A on the chart to a point B on the chart. Yeah, this is point A. At point A, we've got a quantity demanded of 9 and a price of 50. So what happens when our price goes up from 50 all the way to 120? What happens to our quantity demanded? Well, the quantity demanded falls. As the price rises, quantity demanded falls. And this makes sense to your everyday lives as consumers, because when something becomes more expensive, we demand less of it as consumers. And the real reason for that is we get less utility from that thing per each dollar that we've spent, don't we? Okay, if we've bought something that's valued at $100 and we get $100 worth of utility, well, we're getting, we're getting one piece of utility per $100. But if that doubles in price, then we're having to spend twice the amount of dollars to get the same amount of satisfaction. And so what do? Well, we desire less of that thing. And that's the law of demand. When price rises, quantity demanded falls. But it also works the other way. Yeah, so when things go on special, what do? We demand more of them. We demand a higher quantity of those things, don't we? So when something halves in price, like your favorite, I know for me, I love strawberries. But normally they're around $4.50, $4 for a punnet, and I'm not buying at that price. I like strawberries, but I don't demand them at $4. But when they go down to $2 or $2.50, I do demand them. So my quantity demanded increases when the price falls. That's the other side of the law of demand. When price falls, quantity demanded rises. This is exactly what you guys do every day as consumers. Okay, so that in a nutshell is what demand is. To understand what demand is, you've really just got to go through to the law of demand. As price rises, quantity demand falls. As price falls, quantity demand rises. When that happens, when we see a change in price, like we've seen here going from point A to point B, We call that a movement along the demand line. Okay, that's called a movement along the demand line. I'm actually going to write that really badly. Oh, I bet you guys don't miss my handwriting. Movement along. That language is going to be really, really important the further we go into this particular study, because you'll notice the next key knowledge point talks about factors that shift the demand line. Yeah, so the language is going to be important. When this line shifts, the whole line moves. Yeah, that's not what we're talking about here. So when the price changes in any given market, demand itself doesn't change. No, no, no. Just the quantity that is demanded changes. So when price changes, quantity demanded changes. That's really bad. You guys get the idea, right? When price changes, quantity demanded changes. Okay, that's really, really important, as signified by a movement along the curve. This will start to make a little bit more sense once we go into the factors that actually shift the curve and move the curve at every price point. Okay, hopefully that makes sense, guys. If it doesn't, please feel free to reach out with any questions, ask questions of each other. Otherwise, happy learning. Thanks, guys.